Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Cormor Productions, here to talk about This Is Us, Season 6, Episode 3, titled Forefathers. The episode was directed by John Hurtis, which is a name that should sound familiar to you. He plays Miguel in this series. This is the second episode of the series that he has directed. The first was Season 5's episode The Ride from last season. It was written by Dan Fogelman and Casey Johnson. The episode's description reads as follows: Jack, Randall, Kevin, and Toby struggle to connect with their children. This is easily the best episode of the season. The first two episodes were not horrible, but they were kind of lackluster compared to what this series usually puts out. I thought this week was definitely an uptick in quality from what we've seen from the first couple of weeks of the season, which were making me a little bit worried about the direction of this season. Before going any further, I will tell you a couple of things. One, this is not a spoiler-free video, so if you haven't yet watched this episode, go and check it out and then come back and watch my video. You've been warned. Secondly, if you like this video and want to support the channel, please like, share, and comment, as well as subscribing to my channel. We open this episode in the future timeline with Toby and Kate's adult son, Jack, in the future. Not quite sure where this is in the future timeline for him. Not sure if this is after his kid is born, but he's with what I assume is his girlfriend or his wife, cooking on a smoker, which apparently was a hand-me-down from Toby Kate, and the object of something that caused him trauma as a kid, and it turns out to be his first memory. And this tragic event, whatever it happened to be, was relatively minor, and apparently is responsible, at least in Jack's mind, for Toby and Kate's demise, at least as far as them being a couple. But we shall get back to that topic later in this video. Jack comes home from a hard day at work, and the kids are already asleep. Rebecca had tried to keep him up as long as she could, but Jack did not get back there in time, and Jack feels like the kids are not even going to remember who he is. Rebecca suggests a Jack special weekend with the kids, and as it turns out, he already has something in mind. There's a new mall opening with a movie theater inside it, so he figures it's time for the kids. First, big screen adventure, and credits. When we come back, we have a nice little montage of Toby entering in and out of his kids' lives and struggling to connect. And from there, we see Kevin enduring the same kind of struggle. He gets up in the morning, goes and sees his kids, and then goes to work on the reboot of The Manny. And after these montages, we cut to Randall, who is about to take Deja on a driving lesson, and this is his ploy to connect with her, to find out what's going on in her life, because the two of them being alone together on the open road will mean that she will have no choice but to talk to Randall. We cut to Kevin and Kate, who's helping Kate out with the babies. Kevin reveals that one of his kids had carrots for the first time, and he found out when Madison sent him a text with a carrot emoji. Kevin is feeling a little left out, like the guy on the outside looking in. Well, congratulations, Kevin. You have the life of a divorced man without ever actually having married Madison. Of all the stories presented in this episode, it was Kevin's story that I most connected to, having actually somewhat lived the life that Kevin is living. Me and the mother of my child, we split up when my daughter was about a year and a half old. And at the time I had her quite often, like almost every single day. Nowadays it's just weekends because she's in school. But even having her that much, I still felt like I missed things, just like Kevin is. And you're going to, regardless. I mean, even if he was still with Madison, he still has to go to work. And during that time, things are going to happen. The kids are going to experience new things that you're just not going to be a part of. And that's just the way it goes, whether you're living in that house or not. And yes, that sucks. And yes, that is going to lead to emotions like Kevin experiences throughout the episode. Toby enters the scene because he is home for the weekend, and they have big plans. They are going to leave the kids with a babysitter and attend Kate's kids' recital for a little adult time. Kevin looks on the happy family scene and feels a little bit of envy, a little bit of sadness for his own life, for the fact that he does not have what Kate and Toby have at this juncture. He doesn't have the family dinners. He doesn't feel like he's a part of the family the way he wants to be. But he's only seeing a snapshot, and the grass is not always greener on the other side. You always think and feel like someone else has it better. In this case, he thinks Kate and Toby have it better. But Toby has his own struggle, bouncing in and out of their lives as he goes to work in another state and is gone for days at a time. We cut to the past timeline with Jack and the kids as they go to the movie theater. Katie ends up remarking, or rather asking Jack, if he is going to live at work forever. And Jack says he doesn't live at work, he lives with them. The concession stand guy says that his dad worked a lot back when he was a kid too. But now he's a fine, upstanding stoner guy working at a movie theater, and that comforts Jack to no end. Cut to Kevin at rehearsals for the reboot of The Manny. Kevin ends up reading a monologue, playing a father, which reminds him that he didn't see his own kids that morning, and his feelings for feeling left out are magnified that much more. Meanwhile, a girl who's playing his teenage daughter in the show is laughing a little too hard at his joke, which he notices. None of this is helped that he is sharing the stage with a bunch of younger actors, while Kevin is now the old dog. After the scene is over, the guy that's playing the Manny now invites Kevin out to hang out with the cast. We cut to Toby and Kate. Kate is playing with Jack and some blocks that will come into play later in the episode. Toby comes in declaring that he has gifts. Oh, but Haley is down for a nap, so he must be quieter in the gift giving. Toby bought Jack a little football that emits a sound so that he can find it and they can toss it back and forth together. And Toby makes an Eli Manning reference, which is a quarterback for the New York Giants, or was a quarterback for the New York Giants. He's currently retired. The New York Giants, of course, being my team. So hey, Toby, you already won me over a while ago, but still, I feel connected to you right now. Toby's gift to Kate is a purse for her to carry later that night, and a gift card to go get her hair done, while he watches the kids. Kate says to not play the football with Jack because he has to go down for a nap, otherwise there's going to be problems. Unfortunately, Toby doesn't quite listen to her. We cut to Deja and Randall. Randall's all happy, but he's not going to be for too much longer. He's about to have driving lessons with Deja, and Deja says that she can't do that listening to Randall's old man music, so she Bluetooths her phone to the car. Yep, she's going to regret that one in a little bit. As they drive, Randall tries to connect and get to know how she's doing at school, if she likes her new teachers and all that. And apparently the teacher told a joke. Why can't you trust an atom? Because they make up everything. Hey, by the way, I did that particular dad joke. That was actually also in the movie Ghostbusters Afterlife. And as it turns out, to the surprise of absolutely no one, Randall actually knows that particular dad joke. Because of course he does. The jovial mood is soon interrupted by a text message, which Siri happens to read over the car. Wouldn't you know it, it's from Malik, who says that it's feeling a little empty without her in his bed. Whoops. And as the text message gets read, and it has time to click in Randall's mind, oh, he's mad. Randall, hold on a second here. I'm sure you remember what it was like to be young and in love. Whoa, Randall, don't give me that look. I'm not the one that was sneaking around on you. Deja's the one that's in trouble here. Okay, serious question, because I don't usually do this with my phone, but if you hook your phone up to play on the car's speaker, through Bluetooth or whatever, and you get a text message, does it automatically read the text message without you asking to do so? Because, man, does that suck. Or did Randall install some kind of narc feature into Deja's phone to tell on her whenever it gets the chance? Either way here, Deja's in trouble. When we come back from break, Randall is now realized that Deja did not go to where she said she was going when she took her little trip. She in fact went to Boston to see Malik. Well, that didn't take any time blowing up in Deja's face, now did it? We join Randall mid-rant, and I gotta say that Sterling K. Brown is hilarious playing Randall when he's mad. I would watch a show entirely based on Sterling K. Brown just being mad for the entire hour. That would totally make my life if I had that show. Hey, if you guys happen to make that show, I want some credit on that, by the way. Meanwhile, Beth is... I don't think she's as mad as she's pretending to be here. I think she understands more than she's letting on during the course of this scene. But the two of them playing off together is hilarious as hell. Randall decides to go take a jog to cool off. For all the good I'm sure that's gonna do. We cut back to the past timeline where Jack is sleeping in the middle of the theater. Kevin doesn't seem to like the movie, so he decides to do the rational thing and just disappear out of the movie theater while Jack sleeps, completely not noticing that his son is about to go out to the mall, the big bad world, and get himself lost. Oh, and it should be noted here that Randall questions Kevin where he's going, and then does absolutely nothing about it. We cut to Kevin, who seems to be at a bar of some type. He's not drinking himself, as he is an alcoholic in recovery. He's drinking water. His 25-year-old female co-star is impressed with his ability not to drink. And Kevin ends up asking her, "You be drinking? Aren't you like 17? Okay, Kevin, look here. You've been an actor for what, your entire adult life? You should know how this works. You should know that this girl is probably not her age that she's playing on screen." Kevin looks ridiculously awkward during the course of this scene because these people are much younger than him. He is not a young man anymore, and he doesn't understand them. He doesn't understand when she's talking about the latest in entertainment. He questions if she's even speaking English. And this is where I will age more gracefully than most people my age. Back in the day, I was not cool. I was a dork. I was not popular. I wasn't with it. I didn't understand what the young people were doing even back then. So for me, being a 40-year-old who doesn't know what's happening with the kids these days is nothing new for me, because I never was with it, ever. And so I will have a much easier transition to this stage of my life. Kevin's not really feeling her, but she oh so wants to sleep with him. Probably because he looks like Kevin Hartley, or rather, Justin Hartley. Wow, that was great. I just combined the actor's name and the character's name. And that is not a mistake that I am going to delete. I'm going to keep that one in. She ends up giving Kevin his number, and with a little text message suggesting that they hang out later. Meanwhile, Kevin gets a text message, a video message no less, from Madison, and it happens to be his daughter's first steps. He's so excited that he leaves the bar right then and there to rush to Madison's house. We cut to the scene that might as well be named The Consequences for Toby's Actions. Kate and Toby are getting ready to leave, and the babysitter's there, but Jack is acting all cranky because Toby screwed up the nap time schedule. Good going there, Toby. At first it seems like Kate might stick around to try to get Jack down, but Toby nobly decides to stay behind. Kate was mad at him to start with when they were going to leave together because Toby didn't listen to Kate earlier and kept to the schedule. And now she is still mad at him that he has chosen to stay behind rather than have the babysitter deal with Jack. It's the definition of lose-lose. And man, does Toby lose. Jack wakes up to discover that his son has gone missing. Randall just casually tells him that, "Oh, he left." "What do you mean he left?" And this is totally not me laughing at your plight. I mean, if I didn't know that he was alive 35 years later, I probably wouldn't be laughing at you quite so much. But here I am. It is soon discovered that the little boy was found in the mall, and they knew to contact Rebecca because Kevin had her phone number written on his shoes. Rebecca is totally killing this parenthood thing. Jack a little less so. This is not his finest hour. We cut to Kate at the end of the recital. She's congratulating her students as they leave. Philip comes out to say that this was the most successful recital ever, and as it turns out, he mentions the fact that the parents don't usually boo the blind kids. I would hope not. Kate ends up relaying the stupid argument that she had with Toby before they left, and Philip shows that he's human for 2 seconds and relays a story of how he used to complain to his class as an anecdote that his wife would never hang up the towel, and that the moment his marriage was pretty much over, he stopped relaying that story because he didn't feel like it. So it's a good sign that she still wants to talk about the argument because that relationship is still alive. We cut to a nice wordless scene where Beth enters Deja's room, who's clearly upset. She doesn't yell at her, she just offers her silent compassion. Meanwhile, Kevin is knocking on Madison's door and ends up acting like a complete and total maniac as he bursts through the door asking to see Maddie and to see her walk again. Except for one small problem. It's late and she's asleep. She ends up pointing out that there will be plenty of milestones to come and that they're not going to be there for all of them. And this strikes a nerve with Kevin as he finally reveals what he's actually feeling. And he says, "You mean I'm not going to be there to see all the milestones?" Yeah, I guess, Kevin, but she's also not going to see everything either. There are going to be things that are going to happen when you have them that she is not going to be present for. but you're just expressing your hurt emotions right now. And it's not like you're being rational at this time and thinking about this clearly. But she's finally had enough of him, and she says to him, "Hey look, this is not all fun and games for me. This is really hard for me. Not that long ago, before she was taking her first steps, I got Ralphed on, and I had to clean puke and peanut butter out of my hair so that when Isaiah comes over, who might be a romantic suitor, he wants to be with me, and so I don't end up alone for the rest of my life." And of course, Kevin, even though he's hurt, even though he's feeling a certain type of way, he realizes that she's right, of course. It doesn't make him feel any better, but he is sorry, and she is right. And I don't know if Kevin was feeling jealous about the idea of another man coming over, but I sure as heck was. Meanwhile, in the past timeline, Jack is a little bummed that his family outing that he was using to connect with the kids turned into a complete disaster when Kevin went missing. Rebecca ends up pointing out that no matter how late in the day, a day can always be salvaged, and it can be remembered for something different. And Jack, I don't think he's going to remember this so much as all the other damage that you will do to him as he grows up. I'm sure that doesn't make you feel any better, but it is true. Randall returns home ready to ground everybody and kill everybody and leave nobody alive. And Beth puts him in his place. She simply tells him they aren't going to be able to ground this out of her. She's in love, and that's the way it goes. Punish her? Absolutely. But she is not the little girl that they think of her as. And Randall will make this point when he goes and talks to Deja. But her life was not a typical life. The first 12 or 13 years of her life, she had to grow up fast because of her mother and her situation. Mentally, she is of a different age than what her actual age is. And let's face facts here. Even if that weren't the case, we parents get into trouble when we expect our kids to be mugs, that they aren't going to do drugs, that they aren't going to go out and drink sometimes, that they're not going to go to parties and do things that maybe they shouldn't do, that they're not going to engage in sexual activities. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's just not the case. The kids are going to do these things, and we should not pretend otherwise. We should not put the blinders on. We should realize that these kids are going to occasionally do things that we do not approve of, that we do not agree with. It's all part of the growing up process. And rather than tell them not to do these things, my message would be simple. Well, no, it wouldn't be simple, but my message is this. I don't want you to do this. I would rather you wait. But I know you're going to get yourself into situations where you are going to do these things. And if you are, I would rather you do them safely. If you're going to drink, be at someone's house and stay there. If you're going to do drugs, same deal. I'd rather you not do it, but I know occasionally you're going to do things that are outside of what I want you to do.
Do not get in a car with someone who's been drinking. Do not get in a car and drive if you've been drinking. Do not get in a car and drive if you have been drinking. If you're in any kind of bad situation where you are not comfortable, you better call me. I would much rather be mad at you for a couple of seconds, or for a little while longer than that, than cry at your funeral. And Beth tells Randall that she is going to get Deja on birth control. And I'm sorry, Randall, but I'm 100% on Beth's side here. She's absolutely correct. We cut to a Kevin and Toby scene. Everybody's asleep. Kate's not quite back home yet, I don't believe. Toby's evening was a bust, and Kevin is feeling a certain kind of way. Toby ends up using a metaphor. When we were kids, we thought that the strongest shape that we could build was a square, and that's what we as adults should be building. But, in fact, sometimes the strongest shape is a triangle, and they both end up saying that they don't know what Toby is talking about, but it's actually a good metaphor. When I split with my ex, I struggled with the idea of no longer being a part of the family, of being on the outside looking in. And this, as it does Kevin, hurt me for a while. But then I got a piece of advice from my uncle, who said that I didn't lose my family. Not really. My family was just going to take a different shape, a different form. It wouldn't be all of us together eating dinners, but I still had my daughter. I still had my family. Instead of me thinking of the family as a whole, I thought of me and Julia as my family. What Kevin lost was the idealized version of his family, but he still got his two kids. He can still be in their lives and be their dad and their family. Facing facts, he's not married to Madison right now, and they aren't all living together because Kevin doesn't love Madison, and she realized it. She wanted something more. She wanted what she deserved, And you should want the same thing for yourself, Kevin. You should want what you deserve, which is someone that actually loves you. Or rather, someone that loves you and that you love back. But this alone will not solve your problem. This alone will not make the pain go away. And what I want for Kevin here is what I think is going to happen. What he's hinted about in interviews. Justin Hartley has said these things. That he's got to learn to love himself. That he's got to be comfortable with the idea of being by himself. And honestly, I'm wondering if that's the direction the series will ultimately take. Where people speculate, is he going to end up with Cassidy or Sophie or Madison? I'm thinking he doesn't end up with anybody. He ends up by himself with the kids. Great scene between these guys, by the way. This episode has a number of great scenes, whereas the last episode had one really great scene and some good ones. We cut to the past timeline where Rebecca sets up a great memory for the kids to replace the fact that Kevin got lost, so that years from now, they won't remember the fact that Kevin got lost at all. They'll remember the late night whipped cream fun. Randall goes to Deja's room, and she says, I already apologized to Beth. Please don't make me do it to you as well. And instead of looking for an apology, Randall apologizes to her, telling her that he realizes that he missed out on the first 12 years of his life, her life rather. That she grew up faster than most, and that he was really looking to stall things, to have more time with the Deja that he originally met, the one that is still growing. But he's going to have to accept the adult that she actually is. But, as a consequence for her actions, there won't be any trips to Boston to see Malik anytime soon. But then she says, well, actually, that's going to be a problem. Another great scene between the two of them, highly emotional. I wish Lilac Ross, who plays Deja, got more to do in this episode and the last. This isn't really her series. She's a supporting character and all that, but I wish she got more time. And honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing her work in the future because I think she's going to be a knockout. I looked at her Internet Movie Database page, and there's nothing in the works currently beyond This Is Us. That's her most recent work. But I saw a 2018 picture titled Canal Street, which has a ton of great actors in, that I'm going to have to check out now. What exactly does Deja mean by actually that's going to be a problem? What are you telling me here, Deja? Don't tell me that you're already pregnant from this one night with Malik, or this week of sexy time, because I would much rather not go in that direction with this character at this time. Is this just a statement of defiance? What's going on here, Deja? Give me some closure here, guys. Hopefully we'll get more information on what the heck Deja was talking about next week, but I'm not even convinced that we're going to because next week appears to be a Jack-centric episode. And if this takes place entirely in the past timeline, we're not going to know anything about what's going on present day. Hopefully there's other storylines besides the Jack-centric ones. We cut to Kevin, who's having trouble sleeping. He's had another day of getting himself kicked in the teeth, and he ends up texting somebody asking if they're awake. Oh, who's he calling? Well, if it's none other than Cassidy, played by Jennifer Morrison. Hey, why is he calling so late? Well, he considered calling his 25-year-old co-star and engaging in a booty call, but that wasn't a good idea, so he called Cassidy instead. And okay, show, please tell me that we're going to get another episode with Jennifer Morrison's Cassidy in there, so we can have more than 5 seconds of screen time. Once upon a time, Jennifer Morrison annoyed me. Well, okay, actually, it wasn't Jennifer Morrison. It was the character that she was playing, Cameron, on House, that annoyed me. But she's a talented actress, and she deserves more than 5 seconds of screen time. Get her into an episode, interacting with Kevin or something. But there is a larger point to be made at this scene. Kevin does not sleep with his co-star, his 25-year-old co-star, which is a good call, by the way. You shouldn't fish where you eat. Actually, that expression is somewhat different than what I just presented there. I think I just mixed metaphors, but I'm going to stick with it.
And mind you, this is the same guy that used to sleep with everybody. He even tried to sleep with me once, remember? But I told him no. I don't care how much you flash your eyes at me, those sad puppy dog eyes, I am not going to sleep with you.
Kevin doesn't pick up a bottle and start drinking as a means to deal with his pain. He doesn't sleep with his 25-year-old co-star, which is a bad idea, as I just said. He doesn't engage in his usual ways of dealing with his pain. Instead, he calls a friend. This is big-time growth for the character of Kevin, just as we saw a little bit in the season premiere episode. And during the course of this phone call, Kevin reveals the fact that he realizes it's ridiculous that he's sleeping in his sister's guest room when he's a zillionaire and can get his own house very easily. All right, Kevin, why don't you go do it? Stop being a shark who can't stop moving to avoid dying. Buy that house, make a stable home for your kids that maybe, just maybe, won't be what you pictured for your life or for your kids' life, but it'll be a life that they will enjoy nonetheless. It'll be a life in which you can be happy, and so can your kids. Cut to Toby. Kate arrives home, and they sort of make up a little bit. And then Toby reveals that he has one more gift in mind before he leaves. He wants to buy a smoker so that they can have family outings together. Not just be about music, but about time together. And this is the very smoker that Jack is using in the future, and apparently the one that he associates with their marriage falling apart. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest that Kate and Toby do not split because there's some incident where Jack gets hurt and scarred for life. They are not going to break up because of this incident. That there's going to be deeper issues, which there obviously is, that are going to result in that breakup. But here's the thing. We all have these childlike associations that form when we are kids and that even as adults we hold on to. That aren't rational, that are childlike, but nevertheless, even into adulthood, we hold on to them. Kind of like, to this day, I will not step on a shower drain because as a kid I was afraid something was going to get me from the drain. And even today, as a 40-year-old adult realizing that that's ridiculous, I still won't step on a shower drain. Now, that little anecdote probably should have been shared with a therapist and not on my YouTube channel. But whatever. My point is that while Jack associates this incident for the marriage blowing apart, it was not this incident at all that caused it. It may have been the straw that broke the camel's back, but there were a lot deeper issues besides what happens here.
By the way, I think if I were selling a product, I would pay the show not to put my product in it. Hey, how about the crockpot of death that sets fire to your house and kills your husband? You enjoying that nice refreshing taste of Pepsi? Well, Toby's gonna drink one and then he's gonna die of a massive heart attack. Or how about Miguel sits down and watches the latest Corman Productions video and he's crushed, heartbroken, and dies of heartbreak because he realizes there is a segment of the fan population that doesn't like him. You know what, show? It's perfectly okay. Please do not advertise my product. We have one final scene of Rebecca bragging that she managed to turn around a bad day into a memory that they will never forget. Only it will be tainted for Jack because he soon finds out that his mother just died.
And that, my friends, is the episode. That is all that I have for you for this video. It was a pretty great episode. Definitely the best of the 3 episodes that we've seen so far this season. It gives me a little bit of hope that Season 6 will get on track and will be the stellar show that it has always been. Next week, we will solve the mystery of what happened to Jack's mother. At this juncture in my life, I don't feel the need to have a totally Jack-centric episode, so I'm hoping there's a little bit more going on than that. But it's quite possible that the show feels the need to do that. Either way, we're going to have one mystery solved. If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join my 2 Facebook page groups. One, the Corman Productions page, and the other, the This Is Us discussion page. You can buy something from the Corman Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy, which is a new way to support content creators such as myself. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to my channel. This is Dave from Corman Productions, signing off.